It is Friday, May 30th, 2025. I'm Heath Lambert, and the biggest story of the week is the Biden healthcare cover-up.
Former President Joe Biden's decline, putting a spotlight squarely on his inner circle.
There are many folks across the political spectrum who want answers from the Biden inner circle. But after being by his side throughout his years as vice president and then president, longtime advisors Anita Dunn, Mike Donnellan, Bob Bauer, and Jeff Zients are silent, as now 3 books have come out detailing an ailing geriatric president with AIDS lying about his health and stamina, while they tried to win him another term in office, suggesting nothing was wrong.
On Sunday, May 18th, 2025, former President Joe Biden announced he had been diagnosed with prostate cancer. His particular diagnosis seems quite serious, and every person of goodwill feels pain for the former president and his family as they walk a difficult road. I am praying for the Biden family and know many other Americans are too. The announcement of such a serious medical problem for a former president would be newsworthy under any circumstance. But the timing of the announcement has increased the attention on Biden's health issues. The Biden family announced the news of the former president's cancer just days before the release of a book by Jake Tapper and Alex Thompson called Original Sin: President Biden's Decline, Its Cover-Up, and His Disastrous Choice to Run Again. The book is a devastating account of one of the most significant political scandals in American history. It is now patently clear that responsibility for this cover-up can be located in at least 5 different parties. First was President Biden himself. Biden made clear during his first campaign against then-President Trump that he intended his administration to be a bridge to the next generation. He acknowledged his advanced age at the time and signaled he would not be a 2-term president. But early in his presidency, he reversed course on this, becoming personally convinced that he was the only person alive who could defeat Donald Trump. It is the nature of the presidency that the incumbent in that office has great political advantages that make it practically impossible to replace him unless he willingly withdraws. President Biden knew this fact and used it to his own advantage. The second responsible party was the Biden family. It was clear they had their own personal and selfish interests in ensuring their husband, father, and brother remained in the presidency as long as possible. This desire overshadowed their knowledge that he was only able to work limited hours each day, that he demonstrated a dramatically decreasing ability to engage with his responsibilities, and that the most knowledgeable suspected he would be consigned to a wheelchair in his second term. Third was Biden's inner circle. There was a tight circle of advisors who limited access to the president, controlled the information he received, shielded him from negative information, and made decisions on his behalf. This group was known within the Biden White House as the Politburo. This was the group responsible for ensuring the government functioned in Biden's name and made his re-election effort last as long as it did. A fourth responsible party was much of the American media. Tapper's book is very revealing about the responsibility of the cover-up on the part of former President Biden, the Biden family, and officials in the Biden administration. But in over 300 pages, he never acknowledges the responsibility he and his colleagues have in refusing to report on the president's decline and in shaming those who did. Members of the media will be calculating the damage of this decision for many years to come. A fifth area of responsibility is with millions of normal Americans. The reality is that even though an effort was made to cover up the president's poor health by himself, his family, his staff, and the media, that decline was still obvious to anyone who wanted to see it. Many of us saw it, talked about it, and were concerned about it during his very first campaign. This deceptive cover-up points to 2 crucial lessons on lying we must understand if we're to grow in wisdom after a scandal of such massive consequence. The first basic lesson is that lies separate the reporting of a reality from the reality itself. Every parent knows this is true. When your child's lips are smeared with icing while they insist they did not eat any cake, you know they're lying. The reality is that they did eat the cake. Their lie that they didn't eat it is the separation of the reality from the reporting of it, and the icing on their mouth is the proof of the reality. Only a fool believes the dishonest report of reality in the face of clear evidence revealing the reality itself. In the Biden cover-up, the president, his family, his allies, and the Americans who went along with it chose foolishly to embrace a dishonest reporting of reality that the president was in great shape when all the evidence that he was not was obvious to anyone who wanted to see it. A second basic lesson about lying is that people make the decision to separate the reporting of reality from the reality itself when it suits their sinful, selfish interests. To say that another way, people tell lies when they believe that telling the truth would keep them from getting something they want. People commit the sin of lying when they believe dishonesty will get them something they can't get with the truth. These two principles explain the Biden healthcare cover-up. Joe Biden, his family, his staff, his accomplices in the media, and millions of Americans wanted a man to be president so badly that they decided to engage in a years-long nationwide pattern of deception. They separated their reporting of Joe Biden's health from the reality and created a conspiracy of lies. The great problem in this crisis is not the lies of a president and those close to him. That has happened before, and it will happen again. The big problem here is that so many millions of people allowed themselves to be deceived by a lie that was such an obvious separation from reality. That problem explains how desperately sick our society is and why our culture is breaking down. A civilization that rejects obvious reality is one on the brink of destruction. Fixing this problem is going to take something more than exposure, the publication of books, and the passing of legislation requiring medical evaluations and disclosures for all the health of future presidents. It's going to take the good news of Jesus Christ. The Apostle John says in John 1:14 that Jesus Christ came from the Father and was full of grace and truth. In John 14:6, Jesus says, "I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me." Jesus comes as the personal manifestation of the truth who is, in himself, the only way to peace with the Father. A culture as ready as ours to follow such obvious lies is a culture whose only hope is found in Christ, who is himself the truth and creates a people who love the truth, who tell the truth, and who believe the truth. Apart from him and his grace, it's just a matter of time until we believe the next big lie. That is the biggest story of the week. I can't wait to be with you next Friday when we examine next week's biggest headline.